Hello and welcome to my morning note, coming to you again from Hong Kong today. Let's talk about Shinzo Abe. He doesn't have his own ism yet, but he does have his own nomics, and the markets are obviously very excited by the prospect of Abenomics in Japan. Are they right to be, and what is Abenomics anyway? With me now to discuss this is our Asia editor and longtime former Tokyo bureau chief, David Pilling. David, thanks for talking about this today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, David, let's start by taking a look at the way the yen and the stock market responded to the advent of Mr. Abe. They obviously think that something new and different is happening here. Are they right to be?
Well, I think they are. I mean, Abe was very clear. There are three arrows to Abenomics. There's fiscal, then there's structural reform. But the one that markets have got really excited about is monetary policy. And Abenomics is actually not all that weird. What Abenomics says is, we believe monetary policy can tackle this long-term deflationary problem that we've had, and we're going to do everything we can to reach 2% inflation a year. That's Abenomics in a nutshell.
Now, it does, however, seem very, very ambitious. What we're showing you here is expected inflation derived from the Japanese bond market. And we can see that even with the advent of Shinzo Abe, the expectations for inflation continue to grind ever downwards. Surely this is going to be very difficult indeed to get up to 2%.
Well, we've had deflation for more than a decade, the best part of 15 years. And there is a kind of an intellectual dispute about what are the causes of deflation. Abe and Kuroda now at the BOJ are betting that it's a monetary phenomenon that can be solved by monetary means. But the Shirakawa BOJ, and to some extent the Fukui BOJ before, said no, that's not true. This deflation is a real phenomenon.
Right.
It's to do with demographics, it's to do with a negative output gap and a chronic lack of demand. And so whatever we do, we're pushing on a string. There's nothing we can do with monetary policy. And so in a sense, we're not going to try.
Right.
And so I guess the bond markets are reflecting that uncertainty.
Okay, so despite the perception in the West that Japan invented the term QE that we have all got used to, in fact, they haven't really tried to treat it as a monetary problem or do all that can be done with monetary policy to deal with it.
Well, I would say that, yes. I mean, that's quite a controversial point.
Yeah.
What I would say is that the Bank of Japan, which was pioneering in a technical sense, but it tended to say, we're going to buy these assets, these non-conventional assets, but it's probably not going to work. Or we're going to buy these assets, but the reason we're going to buy them is not really because we think we're going to get 2% inflation. And remember, they weren't even aiming for 2% inflation. Right. They're aiming for 0 or maybe 1 at most points. But they said we're doing it to stabilize the financial system, which is really a rather different message.
Right.
And I think the interesting thing about Abenomics is actually they have done nothing so far. And yet look at the market reaction.
Okay, now one final question that just occurs to me. If we take a look at this chart, which shows you the actual burden on the Japanese state of interest payments, it doesn't look as though there's really much of a fiscal problem there. Do they really need to take the risk of doing this?
Well, yeah, Japan has been in this kind of stable equilibrium, this deflationary equilibrium, and people have been very down on the Japanese economy. In real terms, particularly real per capita terms, it's actually not been doing so badly. So the temptation has been, actually, let's just muddle along.
Yes.
The problem, I guess, is that because you've got nominal GDP, which is stuck at basically 1990 levels, your debt to GDP ratio keeps rising, as we've seen now, 230% of GDP for every 2 yen the government spends. It only can raise 1 yen in taxes because taxes are depressed because of nominal GDP. So you could argue that, yes, maybe they could go on for years, maybe even decades, but the end game is probably not going to be very pretty, is it?
But the end game could be inflation then, is that true?
The end game is likely to be inflation, so why not do it now rather than wait until it's kind of forced on you, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So I think Abenomics is an attempt, I guess, to grasp the collar of this and to say, let's do it now. It's a gamble, but it's probably a gamble that's worth taking.
Okay, David, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
And I think we can say that that judgment, as far as Abe is concerned, might also apply to foreign investors looking at Japan. It's a gamble, but it may well be a gamble worth taking.